in-house recruitment as a function has grown, over the last 10, 15, maybe even 20 years out of necessity. But if we think about some of the stuff that recruiters nowadays in the here and now have to deal with, we speak to recruiters every day, they're time poor, they're firefighting, they're reactive. On the master-servant continuum, they're the wrong end of the continuum too often. Penniless. What we mean by that is budgets are always stretched, aren't they? We're always reacting. There's never enough money. We're always trying to rob, beg, steal, borrow to get that extra few quid for whatever we need to do, which makes it really hard to invest in stuff that's going to actually transform. And transformation you need to be able to step back and see where you're going to transform. And then finally, order taking. Maybe that's something that resonates with a lot of people as well. We are at that reactive side of the spectrum. We are taking orders too often. Where we're trying to get our customers, and we want to really start shifting the whole sector, is to what we think is a modern day recruiter. So, the opposite really. We want to start working smart. We want to embrace technology. I would say that we're a tech company, but of course, there's a lot of tech out there to make everything better, automate as much as we possibly can. We want to be proactive. We want to lead the recruitment process, not be governed by those that are telling us how it should be, and be fearless in what we want to do. Accept that not everything we try will work, but if you don't try it, you'll always be doing what you've always done. And like I say, be the driver of that process.
So if you think of all the other functions within our business, so supply chain, finance, production, whatever, would they ever do their job without a plan? They'd never dream of doing it. If you ask the finance director to go and do a job without a financial forecast, you get laughed out of the room. But for like 10, 15, 20 years, we've been rocking up doing our job thinking, I wonder what they're going to ask me to recruit for tomorrow. It's like, it just doesn't make any sense. So this kind of what we see is a familiar story in the recruitment landscape, yeah? We're busy, busy, busy. We're the last to know, yeah? But when we do kind of find out about certain recruitment projects, I think the business kind of knew about this 3, 6, 9, 12 months, yeah? So why aren't they telling us? And because they've never really had a platform to do it until now.
Imagine you are in recruitment, and whatever level you're in recruitment, whether you're directly responsible for some of these questions or not, somebody in your organisation has got to answer these questions on, to be honest, a cyclical, if not a monthly basis. And when we start to think, I'm not going to read them all out, you can see them, we'll share these after, but these are some fundamental questions that you'd need to know to deliver any kind of a service. Recruitment is supply versus demand. We have to supply, but we don't often know the demand. So without it, how can we know how big our team needs to be? How many recruiters do we need? How do we need to structure it? Do we have resourcing business partners? Do we have direct delivery models? Do we use RPO solutions? Do we do it all in-house? Are you going to be faced with a capacity shortfall, whatever size that team is? How do you know? What happens in September when that huge project lands and you've got 3 recruiters too few? What tools or technology do you need to invest in? These things aren't cheap, in resources or pound notes. So, you need to think forward in terms of what you're going to try and achieve and what tools you're going to need to do it. You think about it, if you can answer all of those questions on the slide before and start to get those answers and understand where you're heading as a team, as a function, what your strategic impact is going to be for your business, you are going to have huge impact on time. You're going to be bringing in talent quicker, or when the business needs it, more importantly, and we'll talk about that later. Cost per hire, it's not necessarily everyone's favourite metric or most important, but we're businesses. So you've got to run productively. You can reduce costs where you need to, or you can spend a bit more money where you need to get the right talent and the right quality for your business, which links us nicely to quality. Normally everyone's number one. Of course, we want to get the best talent we possibly can. Let's face it, guys, if you're only reacting to what you know you need to hire when you're told, which is often pretty late, you're really restricted in who you can go after, because we all know candidates are now, they yearn to be nurtured over time. They yearn to have a relationship started. They yearn to be engaged with. They want to be told all about your company and what is great about it. We're all investing tons in employer branding, collateral and strategies, but we're not giving ourselves the time to have the most impact with it. Diversity, quite rightly so, really high on everyone's agenda. The best companies, the most productive companies are those that embrace diversity. But again, you need time to think about that properly and think about how you're going to attract, where you're going to attract, to broaden your attraction channels and look after your candidates. Yeah, those reactive recruiters out there with 50, 60, 70, 80, sometimes 100 plus recs, you can't look after people. You can't give an experience. You can't even talk to them. If you've got 50 recs, just 50, you're spending less than an hour a week on a rec, unless you're working 50 hours a week, which you probably are because you've got 50 recs. But even on an hour a week and 10, 20 candidates a rec, how much time are you spending with any candidates? You're just not, are you? It's, you know, so it's not the candidate's fault, it's not your fault, but it's not a good experience.
There's hundreds of reasons why this is really important. So some might be personal to you, so in terms of your career development, escalations back from your business about poor service delivery. Some might be related to your business function, like Kraig said, so all those KPIs are working, so time, cost, quality. But then there's the overarching one. What does it physically mean to your business to get better at the planning phase of the recruitment process? So this is kind of a lofty survey that we did with all of our clients in terms of what we physically see savings coming back from running a really great planning process. So typically a straight 25% reduction in all third-party hires off the bat. Yeah, so whatever your agency bill is, knock a quarter of it off straight away. You become more strategic in your media spend. On average, we see 20% saving, or 20% we can reinvest into better channels. Massive reduction in interim costs, so huge costs incurred by businesses by being reactive, hiring expensive interims all the time. We'll come back to empty chair time, so some of you might have seen us banging on about this over the last couple of months, so this is a huge new metric, so it's a bit of a new world metric that a lot of our customers are using to help show the business impact on running a really great planning process. And ultimately, like Kraig said, how the hell do we know what size recruitment team we need if we don't know how many hires we're going to be making over the next year?
We hear about a role. If you're a self-serve organisation, someone will frustratingly put it into your ATS. I'm sure there's some Teleo users in the room, unlucky. After that point, you'll go through some sort of approval process probably, you'll get the role signed off, and then you're going to advertise. You're potentially going to do some sourcing if you have that capability in-house. You're going to go through a potentially prolonged selection process, and then you're going to make an offer and you're going to hire, right? So they're the big blocks. I know there's other stuff in there, but they're the big blocks of hiring in that current model. Click. Where we want to see things going and where we are seeing things going is a different model. It's the same building blocks, but we're doing some of that work before the need. And when I say before the need, before the hire needs to be in the business, because we know about it earlier. So if we're planning, we know about it months, potentially 6 months, a year even for retirees and longer term maternities and such like, before we need it. And the only difference is we're planning.
We're investing in everything kind of at the minute after the horse has bolted. So better sourcing tools, better everything once the rec has hit the ATS in terms of training. How do we get better at finding better candidates? But there is only physically one way to get proactive. The business need to physically tell us what they're going to recruit over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. It is no more complicated than that. These things are physically known, yeah? So we know resignations, we know retirees. We've just had a customer that's put into Foresight a retiree in 373 days' time. So their recruitment team, and that they didn't know about, and their recruitment team have now got 373 days to fill a really crucial vacancy, yeah? So this is all known stuff. We know people going on mat and pat leave within kind of 2, 3, 4 months. We know growth projects. These guys don't just wake up and think, oh, I'll tell you what, we'll have another sales territory in the northeast. Let's hire another 25 sales execs tomorrow. It's not. This is in the pipeline, right? But the business know about it. And the same thing goes for projects. So those are the top 5 surveyed questions across all of our customers. So when you walk away and you think, okay, I'm going to start constructing my own hiring plan, just start with those 5 questions. Yeah, you will literally turbocharge your hiring performance. And then the detail behind the questions, keep it really simple. Just tell us job title, grade, that might be salary, target start date, the location, and then source of hire is also in the top 5. So do you want to go internal, do you want to go external, that kind of thing. When people start automating this planning process, we start to become aware of vacancies out in the business like 9, 12, 18 months ahead of schedule. So we can start doing all that stuff Kraig mentioned, sourcing, attracting, planning, assessing, and making a hire before the need hits. So what we're saying is, if you're aware of a vacancy need, kind of like 200 days in advance, the time to hire could be 199 days, but the hiring manager is still going to be delighted, yeah, because that hire is made one day before the person leaves, yeah. It could be 1,000 days. So we've got great examples of vacancies over 250 days time to hire, where the hiring manager is over the moon because that person hasn't left yet, but we knew about it, so we could do everything beforehand. So that's why we kind of think time to hire is kind of dying.